Hello, public opinion aficionados, and welcome to Rasmussen Reports, the independent pollster who is again back with a really wild story. And this time, it's our very favorite topic, the one that we touch that nobody else in the polling industry will: election integrity, an issue that is near and dear to the hearts of voters all across America because this time around, two-thirds of them were concerned that the outcome of this election would be affected by cheating. And based on some things that we've seen after the election, I think it's safe to assume that they were right. Now, this comes on the heels of some other really great stories. So if you haven't seen them yet, check out our other videos. We talked 2 days ago about Congress once again kicking the can down the road and how voters actually do kind of want shutdowns because they say that government shutdowns just don't affect them. And I wish Speaker Mike Johnson would pay attention to our polling because I really think after the stunt that they tried to pull this time, it's time to shut this pig down. And then yesterday, we put out a really horrifying video that showed that 27% of voters in America actually think that the assassination, the cold blooded murder of the CEO of United Healthcare was justified because of increasing healthcare prices. And if you haven't seen that one yet, it's absolutely sick. And who was the most sick? Women under 30. They failed the evil test. But here's what we're talking about today. And this was brought to our attention because of our great friend, Brianna Morello, who had the Gateway Pundit's Joe Hawthorne talking about a report that he just put out. If you haven't seen it yet, you should go check out this video here on YouTube. But we're going to take a look at the report he put out. Breaking exclusive, potentially 24% of votes in California's 2024 election were from non-citizens. Wow, where else have I heard people talking about non-citizens voting? Oh, that's right, it's Rasmussen Reports. We made major news back in July, and I'm going to bring those polls up because it's really important that this issue not go away. California's 2024 election results are non-certifiable, yet Secretary of State Shirley Weber certified the results. On Friday, the Secretary of State in California certified the uncertifiable election in her state. Among the statewide election statistics reported by the Secretary of the state's office were the following: 16 million Californians voted, 13 million vote by mail ballots were cast, 3 million ballots were cast at voting locations, and 71% of registered voters cast ballots. I'm pleased to continue the transparency of data relating to California's election by releasing the November 5th, 2024 Statement of Vote. Good for you. But California has garbage voter rolls, at least according to Joe Hoft. As noted previously, the biggest elephant in the living room impacting Californians' election results has to do with voter rolls. One study estimated that 3.8 million records in California's voter rolls are non-citizens. Here is the study in question, posted in November by Joe Hoft, guest post by David Robb. The estimate was determined by comparing individuals registered in the voter rolls that were born outside the U.S. with the number of Californians who legitimately gained U.S. citizenship. The number of foreign-born voters registered in recent years far exceeds the number of naturalized citizens. The cause of this difference is that in California, individuals who apply for driver's licenses are automatically added to the voter rolls, i.e., motor voter. Many of these individuals are not U.S. citizens. This and the barriers to verifying citizenship have led to millions on the voter rolls who aren't U.S. citizens. Here's a chart of it. Very few naturalized citizens, way more registered voters from outside the U.S. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty stark difference. Don't need to be a data analyst to analyze this graph. With 22.6 million registered voters in the state, the number of non-citizens in the voter rolls is 17% of registered voters. However, assuming every non-citizen voted in 2024 and are included in the 16 million votes cast in the 2024 election in the state, then roughly 20% of the voters in the 2024 election were potentially non-citizens. Okay, I get their rationale. So I guess the 24% is maybe a high range. Maybe it was zero. I don't know. It's hard to know. There haven't been any audits. Of course, there will not be. And so what we can glean from this article is that there's smoke. And where there's smoke, maybe there's fire. I would look to other sources of data to validate that potentially there are problems here. Oh, what's that? How about this one? This is a poll from July. 2,500 US likely voters. Big national poll we put out. The first Biden versus Trump national poll. A lot of really good stuff in here. You can go to our website and download the crosstabs to this yourself. But in this poll, we did something that nobody in the industry has done before. A lot of people in the industry actually go off the voter rolls, which again are dirty everywhere, and they assume those people are valid US voters. That's where they start. That's where they figure out who to target. But since we're so focused on likely voters, we don't bother with that step because we're going to ask people if they're voters out of their own mouths. And if they say no, we screen them. And if they say yes, we keep them in. And you could say, well, maybe they lie to you. And I say, yeah, any person taking a poll can lie to you at any point in time. And yet we were the most accurate. So there are no problems with that method. But in all of that, nobody's asking anybody if they're a US citizen. Most people are just assuming they are because they're on the voter rolls. And yet we all know there are potentially problems with motor voters. We all know that there have been instances, like in Ohio, where they have found illegal aliens on the US voter rolls. In fact, in Ohio, they even found, I think, about 100 of them who had voted. That's wild. So if you're not familiar with crosstabs, again, these are the demographics across the top. This is how all likely voters answered each question. This is the breakdown of how each of these demographics answered the questions. So this is how men answered this issue question. This is how 18 to 39-year-olds answered. And one of those demographics we asked was, are you a U.S. citizen? And here are the number of each response at the top. Here it is. 2,200 people said yes. 2,244. 131 of them said no. And 91% said not sure. That is a combined total of 222. I mean, that's frankly mind-blowingly ridiculous. I can't believe it. We have to do the math. 222 divided by 2,466. 9%. 9%. 9% of a U.S. likely voter poll says no or not sure to the question, are you a U.S. citizen? That's astounding. I'm pretty sure we are the first people in the industry to go after this question. It's wild. Why hasn't anybody asked that? Now, hold up. What does not sure mean? How can people not know if they're a U.S. citizen? I don't know. Maybe they're stupid, or maybe they're a dreamer. Maybe they're on an expired visa. Maybe they have a work permit. Maybe they're an anchor baby. I don't know. I do not know, but that's how they answered. And it was a really clear question. It was, are you a U.S. citizen? Yes, no, not sure. And I can tell you, we laid traps in this poll to screen out people who weren't reading the question. And of course, some people lied. It's really hard to know. We take these anonymized. It is possible that some of the people in our poll, just like everybody else, are lying and don't vote, or maybe don't even live in the U.S. But ostensibly, some of these people are not citizens and voted. And this wasn't a one-time thing. We asked this question in almost every single state poll we did this time out, and the national polls. And in every circumstance, we had a number between 2% and 10%. So it's a repeatable phenomenon in our numbers. It's something we're investigating with trust and safety with our online data provider. And it wasn't coming from one panel. It was spread out among all of them. It wasn't coming from one state. It was spread out among all of them, although there were more from Massachusetts than any other state. Really wild. And so I would make a call to someone, Congress, federal law enforcement, somebody in the new Trump administration, maybe even a Secretary of State. Maybe they should do their jobs. Clean up your voter rolls, one, and two, determine if illegal aliens are voting in our elections, because Americans do not want that. In fact, we even had a majority of American likely voters saying that they were willing to shut down the government to get a law preventing illegal aliens at the federal level from voting in elections. So you have Joe Hoff's data point showing there are likely to be problems. You have my data point showing there are likely to be problems. You have reports coming from states of illegal aliens being caught voting in elections. It really is time something gets done, because Americans think that it's very important to prevent cheating in elections by massive majorities, about 9 in 10 US likely voters. But then you have this. Trump campaign official says that Pennsylvania Democrats will face jail time over ballot recounts. And this is just a gut check. This is the temperature level of where we're at right now. This is Chris LaCivita, part of the Trump campaign. Somebody said, man, there's a problem in Pennsylvania. This is metastasizing into a RICO scheme. And Chris says they will go to jail. Count on it. And this is not the only time I heard a similar sentiment echoed on Twitter about potential for election fraud. I really do think there is going to be a massive coordinated effort at the federal level to investigate irregularities in our elections, and it couldn't come at a better time. Not only because it's disenfranchising American voters, but it's also messing up my accuracy. So let's do a little math. Our final results were 2.4% for the national popular vote. I think what the answer is right now is 1.6. So Joe Hoff says there was as many as 3.8 million illegal alien votes in California. Let's just say it's like half of that, 1.9 million. Call it 2 million. 2 million over 155 million votes in the country is about 1.2, 1.3%. So what if it was instead 2.9%? That's actually a lot closer to our result than what the current numbers are. And again, it would mean that just like in our state polling, we were slightly to the left of the final result. And how's that for a right-wing pollster? If you have comments about this video, go to Twitter to Mark_R_Mitchell and post in the replies. You can post in the comments at YouTube or Rumble as well, but we really don't get the chance to read them. But like the video and follow us on YouTube or Rumble. It helps more people see our important information about topics like these that nobody else will cover. And thanks for watching.